My entitled sister demanded my work bonus. Because I have kids! And somehow my parents took her side. So I quietly moved my money, and when she came begging again. It all started with a steak and a glass of red wine. We were sitting around the table at my parents' house, Sunday dinner, the usual once-a-month thing. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, some awkward small talk about weather and work. I'd just finished telling a story about how my team at work had crushed our Q4 numbers. The whole project had been a grind, late nights, early mornings, fixing mistakes that weren't mine, taking calls during weekends, but it had paid off. I actually got a pretty decent bonus out of it, I said, not bragging, just stating a fact. I smiled, kind of proud. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was enough to make my shoulders drop for the first time in months. Enough to pay off a few things, maybe take a short trip, stash some away for the future. Then I heard her fork hit her plate. "Oh my God, then you have to give me some," my sister said, laughing, but not really. I blinked at her. "What? I'm serious." She pushed her glass aside and leaned in like she was making a business pitch. "I mean, I have kids, Brian. You don't. You don't need all of it." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. She wasn't smiling. "Kids are expensive," she said, and glanced at my parents like they were her backup singers. "You wouldn't believe how much diapers and daycare cost. I mean, you can't honestly sit there and act like you need a bonus when your life is just yourself." The room went still. My fork was halfway to my mouth. I looked over at Mom. She was nodding, gently, like this was all very reasonable. "Family helps family," she said, her voice soft like she was quoting scripture. "And you've always been good with money, honey. Maybe you could just give her a little cushion." "For the kids," Dad chimed in without looking up. "She's a mother. You'll understand someday. The thing about growing up as the oldest and staying single is that you learn how to carry your own weight early. You learn not to ask. You get good at cleaning up messes that aren't yours and being invisible when people want to shine." But that night, I felt something shift. I sat back, set down my fork, and looked at them, all three of them, like strangers in my own family. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just said, "Excuse me," and stood up from the table. In that moment, they thought I was being rude. They didn't know it was the beginning of the end. I didn't go far that night, just to my car. I sat there in the driveway with the engine off, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard like it held answers. I wasn't angry, not yet. It was more like a quiet unraveling. That sick realization when the people you love show you, plain as day, what they really think of you. Not a brother. Not a son. Not a man who'd worked every day since he was 16. No, just a wallet with a heartbeat. I didn't sleep much when I got home. My apartment felt colder than usual. I poured myself a drink I didn't really want, then sat at my desk and opened my banking app. It was a familiar routine, checking balances, making sure the bills were paid, seeing how far I'd come since the days of instant noodles and roommates who never cleaned. Then I saw the notification, direct deposit posted, year-end performance bonus. There it was. Months of late nights, weekends, stress, sacrificed relationships. And now, it was mine. And they thought they were entitled to it. I clicked the screen and moved every dollar of it into a brand new high-yield savings account I'd opened that very night. Different bank. No paper statements. No access but mine. Then I went a step further, froze my credit, changed my passwords, and removed the shared login my parents had. Just in case of emergencies. That part hurt more than I expected. I'd given them that access years ago when they were struggling. Never thought they'd use it against me. But I was done playing the dependable fool. I didn't return the calls or texts that followed over the next few days. They started light. Casual. Then the tone shifted. My sister sent one with a bunch of crying emojis and a photo of her kids in their pajamas. "They miss you." Then, "You really can't spare a little? Just for school clothes?" And eventually, "I don't know who you think you are, but you're disgusting." My mom called too. Left voicemails. "Don't punish your sister just because she's struggling. This isn't the Brian we raised. She was right. This wasn't the Brian they raised. This was the one who finally realized he didn't owe them anything just because he made it out while they chose to stay behind. I didn't reply to any of them. I just kept moving, quietly, steadily, toward the life I knew I deserved. It was a Thursday when she showed up at my door. No call. No text. Just a knock, loud, rushed, like a delivery that couldn't wait. I looked through the peephole and saw her standing there, arms crossed, foot tapping like she was timing me. Melissa. My sister. I opened the door just enough to block her view of the apartment behind me. Hey, I said. She didn't bother with pleasantries. Why haven't you been answering? I've been busy. With what? Ignoring your family? I didn't rise to it. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me, letting the latch click into place. She glanced down at the sound. You moved the money, didn't you? There it was. No hello, no how are you, just straight to the thing that mattered most to her. I shrugged. It's handled. Her voice went sharp. I need that money, Brian. Do you have any idea how expensive it is to raise 2 kids on your own? I'm drowning. You're not on your own, I said. You have Mom and Dad. She scoffed. They barely help. You know they're useless with money. I didn't say what I was thinking, that she was, too. I'm not asking for all of it. She continued. Just a little. Just enough to get through the month. I studied her. The desperation in her eyes wasn't fake, but it wasn't new either. It was the same expression I'd seen a dozen times before, when she wanted to borrow my car, when she needed rent, when she needed someone to co-sign a lease she'd later defaulted on. Always with that perfect blend of urgency and entitlement. I already told you, I said quietly. There's nothing left to give. Her face twisted. You're lying. You have money. You just don't want to share it. That word. Share. As if I'd been given some prize, some stroke of luck, instead of clawing my way to stability. I earned it, I said simply. And I'm keeping it. That's when she snapped. Oh, you're keeping it? Wow. You're unbelievable. Her voice rose. A neighbor's door cracked open, then closed again. Do you even hear yourself? You're hoarding money while your own niece doesn't have proper shoes for school. I didn't flinch. Then maybe you should have thought of that before buying a new SUV last year. Her mouth opened, closed, then flared into something sharp and ugly. You think you're better than us, don't you? Just because you don't have kids? You sit up there in your clean apartment with your little spreadsheets and your stupid solo vacations, pretending you're doing something noble, when really you're just selfish. I let her get it all out. Every syllable. Every insult. Then I looked her in the eye and said, We're done. She blinked. What? No more calls. No more visits. No more conversations about my finances. I'm not your backup plan. Her jaw clenched. You can't mean that. I stepped back toward the door. I do. Take care, Melissa. And then I went inside and closed the door, not gently, not angrily. Just firmly. Like I was closing a chapter. I stood there for a moment, my forehead against the wood, breathing slowly. Then I turned around, walked to the bedroom, and opened my laptop. It was time to make some permanent changes. I always thought the hardest part would be the guilt. That if I ever truly walked away, I'd feel this heavy, aching emptiness. Like I'd abandoned something sacred. But when I finally sat down that night, laptop open, glass of water sweating on the table, my phone buzzing for the 5th time in an hour, I didn't feel empty. I felt calm. I started with my phone. Blocked Melissa. Blocked Mom. Blocked Dad. Not muted. Not silenced. Blocked. Permanently. Then I opened our family group chat and scrolled. Pictures of birthdays I paid for. Messages about, can you help just this once? Quotes about family loyalty. I didn't even hesitate. Delete. Archive. Gone. I logged into my email and filtered by their names. Hundreds of threads, school fundraisers, GoFundMe links, guilt-laced forwards with, thought of you. Select all. Delete. I even dug into the cloud storage I'd set up for the whole family. Old photos, scanned documents, shared budgets from years back when I thought we were actually working towards something together. One by one, I removed my access. Revoked sharing. Left no trace. It took maybe 40 minutes. Then I sat back and stared at the dark screen. It was quiet. For the first time in years, actually quiet. No requests. No expectations. No manipulation dressed up as love. I didn't cry. I didn't pour a drink. I just went to bed and slept deeper than I had in months. The next morning, I made the second biggest decision of my life. I quit my lease. My job had always been remote friendly, and I'd been itching for a change anyway. So I packed what mattered, my books, my laptop, a few clothes, and a single photograph of me as a kid, smiling with a crooked tooth and grass stains on my jeans. That boy didn't know what was coming, but he held on anyway. I left the city 2 weeks later. No goodbye. No note. No forwarding address. Just gone. I found a quiet place up north, a small town with wide streets, a library with a fireplace, and neighbors who wave without asking if you can co-sign something. I got a new number. A new gym. A new rhythm to my life that didn't include being anyone's fallback. And the best part? I made new friends. People who didn't care how much I made, only how much I laughed at their dumb stories. People who brought soup when I was sick and expected nothing in return. The kind of people who respected a boundary when you drew it, instead of testing it with a smirk. One night, sitting on my porch with a mug of coffee and the sound of wind in the trees, I finally understood something. You don't owe anyone your peace just because you share blood. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself, for your future, is walk away from the people who refuse to see you as a person, and only ever saw you as a provider. And once you do, you'll never go back. 3 weeks after I moved, I got a letter. An actual letter, handwritten, stamped, forwarded from my old address. I almost didn't open it. Part of me expected it to be some desperate plea from Melissa or maybe a guilt-soaked message from my mom. But it wasn't. It was from my dad. Short. 1 page. Sloppy cursive that looked like it was written in a hurry. Brian, I don't know what's gotten into you. Your sister is struggling. Your mother's worried sick. Family isn't something you just walk away from. You've made your point. Now come home. No apology. No recognition of what they'd done. Just a demand wrapped in fatherly authority, like I was a teenager who'd slammed a door too hard. I folded it, set it on the table, and stared at it for a long time. Then I got up, walked it outside, and dropped it in the trash. I didn't need closure. I had peace. And I wasn't giving it back for anyone. It came on a Tuesday. I was at the coffee shop I'd started frequenting, one of those quiet places where the barista remembers your name, and nobody's in a rush. I was mid-sip when my phone buzzed. New email. Subject line: Hey. It's Kate. Kate. My cousin. We hadn't spoken in years, mostly because she always kept out of the family drama. Grew up 2 states away. Quiet, observant, never picked sides. I tapped it open. Hey Brian. I hope this isn't weird. I got your new email from Rachel, she's cool, hope that's okay. I just wanted to say, I heard what happened. I think you did the right thing. I sat back in my chair, blinking. I've seen how they treat you. I remember holidays when they gang up on you and call it joking. I remember how Melissa always got away with everything and you were just expected to be the reliable one. I'm sorry I never said anything before. But I see it now. And I'm proud of you for walking away. There wasn't much more. Just a, take care, and a quiet little note at the bottom. If you ever want to talk or visit, you've got a place here. I didn't realize how tight my chest had been until it loosened. It was small. But it mattered. Because for the first time in a long time, someone in my family didn't ask me for anything. They just offered a hand. No strings. No guilt. Just kindness. And it reminded me, not everyone tied to your past is part of the problem. Some just need permission to show up when you finally step into your own future. They found me. Not sure how, maybe a bank statement that slipped through, or maybe someone from my old job mentioned the move. But one afternoon, I pulled into my driveway and there they were. My parents. Standing beside their car like they just dropped in for a friendly visit. My first instinct was to turn around. Drive off. Pretend I didn't see them. But I didn't. I parked. Got out slowly. Closed the door behind me and said nothing. My mother was the first to speak. "Brian, can we come in?" I shook my head. "No." Her face tightened, but she pressed on. "We just want to talk. Just for a few minutes." "You had years to talk," I said. "You used them to tell me how selfish I was." My dad crossed his arms. "You made this bigger than it needed to be. Your sister was just overwhelmed." "She was entitled," I replied. "And you defended her." "Every time." They looked at each other. My mother took a small step forward. "You're still our son. And I was your son when you sided against me," I said quietly. "When you told me family helps family, but never asked how I was doing. You only came when the money stopped." The silence between us stretched. Then my dad said, "So that's it? You're cutting us off?" I looked at him, really looked. He didn't seem angry. He seemed inconvenienced. And that's when I knew they still didn't understand. "I already did," I said. "You just didn't believe me." My mom's voice cracked. "Brian, please." But I stepped back. "I wish you well. But we're done." Then I walked up the steps, unlocked the door, and closed it behind me. I didn't look back. Not once. The strange thing about starting over is how quiet it is at first. After that final doorstep conversation, if you could call it that, I waited. I expected another letter. A voicemail. Maybe even a social media ambush from some extended relative telling me to make peace while there's still time. But nothing came. They finally understood I meant it. And in that silence, life grew. I found myself waking up earlier. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The town was peaceful in the mornings, coffee brewing, neighbors walking dogs, the sound of birds instead of traffic or demands. I joined a local hiking group. At first just for the exercise, but it turned into something else. Camaraderie. Strangers who didn't know my history, didn't ask about it, and still made space for me on the trail. We traded stories about weather, work, favorite movies. It was light. Easy. Healing. At work, I started volunteering for projects I actually liked. I wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. I wasn't chasing approval. I was building momentum for me. And then came Nora. We met at a bookstore, of all places. Reached for the same battered copy of East of Eden. Laughed. Talked. Got coffee. The kind of connection that doesn't demand or chase, just clicks. She never asked about my past on the first date. Or the second. And when I did share, eventually, she just listened. Then she said, "You didn't walk away from your family, Brian. You walked toward yourself." That stuck with me. Because for the first time in my life, I felt like someone saw me. Not the provider. Not the fixer. Not the wallet. Just me. It came 6 months later. Life had finally settled into something I could call mine. My apartment felt lived in now, warm. There were framed photos on the wall, me and Nora at a fall festival, a Polaroid of the hiking group after we finished our first overnight trail, and one old picture of me as a kid with a missing front tooth, smiling like I didn't know what was waiting down the road. Then one night, after a long day and a quiet dinner, I saw the email. Subject line, "Please read this." It was from Melissa. I almost deleted it without opening. My hand hovered over the trash icon. But curiosity, or maybe some part of me that still hadn't gone completely numb, won. It started like an apology. Or tried to be. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I get that. But I've been thinking about everything you said. About how we treated you. About what you gave us, and how we responded. I was angry before. Defensive. But I've had time to think. At first, I kept reading. Then she said it. I'm in a really bad place right now. The rent's overdue, the girls need new clothes, and my job cut my hours. I'm not asking for a lot, just a little help until I can breathe again. There it was. Buried inside a few inches of apology, like always. A hand reaching back out, not to reconnect, not to make amends, but to take. She even attached a picture of her kids. The same photo I'd seen her post on Facebook 2 weeks ago with a caption about Mom life. It wasn't remorse. It was strategy. I closed the email and stared at my screen for a long time. Not angry. Not hurt. Just tired. Then I wrote back. Melissa, I appreciate the message. And I hope you find the support you need. But I can't be that support anymore. I've rebuilt my life, and protecting it means not going backward. I wish you and the girls well. Brian. No lecture. No venom. Just truth. I hit send. A few minutes later she replied. Wow. Cold. You'll regret this. I didn't answer. I blocked the email address. Then I turned to Nora, who had just curled up beside me on the couch with a blanket and a book, and asked, Want to go somewhere this weekend? Somewhere quiet? She smiled. Always. And just like that, I moved forward. Again. Because every time they tried to pull me back into that old role, the wallet, the fixer, the family band-aid, I'm reminded why I left in the first place. And why I'm never going back. Sometimes people ask me if I miss them. The family dinners. The holidays. The old traditions. And I think about it, briefly. But then I remember how those dinners felt. How every bite came with a price. How love, in that house, was a currency I had to earn, with money, silence, or sacrifice. No, I don't miss them. What I miss is the version of family I thought I had.